Good evening, folks. It's Jubilee weekend, so I thought I'd better address the nation. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to address the nation not once, not twice, but 3 times. So you're going to get 3 videos over the next few days. Goodness me, I can hear you saying, can we put up with him 3 times? Let's try. Well, you don't have to watch them. Anyway, all I thought was, we had a silver jubilee in 77. We had a golden jubilee in 2002. We had a diamond jubilee in 2012. And now we've got a platinum jubilee in 2022. Chances are we're not going to get that many jubilees going up that quick again because obviously of the timing of them and everything. So it got me thinking about the music that I listened to, or what I was listening to in 1977, or what I'm listening to now. And I thought, let's have a little look. So tonight, we're going to have a look at my most played albums that were released in 1977. I didn't necessarily buy them all in 1977. In fact, truth be told, I didn't buy any of them in 1977 because I was only 13. So, anyway. But these are the ones I can think of that I play the most. I may have missed some out. If you've got a particular favourite and I've missed it out, whack it in a comment below and let me have a look and see if I've got it or see what I think about it. But these are just the ones I listen to the most. Tomorrow we'll do 2002 and the next day, so and so on. But anyway, this obviously with it being 77 is going to be fairly sort of rock pop heavy, and it's not in any particular order. So it's in alphabetical order, to be honest, except for the last one. I've saved the last one because the last one is an album from 1977 that most people don't actually think came out in 1977. They seem to think it came out a little bit before that. Probably because of what it is, because 1977 was all that punk stuff, wasn't it? But this is just kind of showing there was plenty of other stuff around then. If you weren't around at the time, don't believe all these people that think punk took the world over. The rock music was still going, your disco music was still going, your soul music was still going, your pop music was still going. They arrived for a little bit, did their bit, cleared off. The rest of us stayed where we are. So, let's have a look then and see what I'm still listening to now that came out in 1977. First up, I won't surprise too many people, Bad Company, Burning Sky. You can see Bad Company was such a big band, they didn't even have to put their name or the title of the album on the cover. Amazing. And there's the inside as well, really like gatefold sleeve. Brilliant. This is generally regarded though as probably the weakest of the Bad Company albums with Paul Rodgers on, but it's still got some great stuff on there, some experimental stuff on Master of Ceremony, 7.5 minutes worth of sort of, it's difficult to explain, but have a listen to it. It's good stuff. 1977, Bad Company, Burning Sky. That's the first one. Okay, second up, this, I believe at the time, you could only get in Australia. This man came into the form of rock music a couple of years later. Groundbreak. Became a singer in Rainbow, singer with Since You've Been Gone, and All Night Long, at the Castle Donington, first Castle Donington event. He'd been in a band called The Marbles before that, so he was quite well known really, but some great session musicians on this. Mickey Moody's on it, loads of people on this. It's a really good, solid album, mostly sort of covers and stuff. It's all over. Baby Blues on it, We Used to Love Me Tomorrow, which of course Rainbow did at Donington a few years later. It's a really good album, well worth tracking down. It was on Ringo Records in Australia, but whether it got a release over here, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure the best place to get it from at the time was Australia, but it's a great album, well worth listening to. Next up, first of the ladies, and Elkie Brooks, 2 Days Away. These early Elkie Brooks solo albums are absolutely wonderful. Some of the later ones meandered on a little bit perhaps, but these early ones, brilliant, really good stuff. If you've never heard of Vinegar Joe stuff, have a listen to it. Go and have a look at it as well, because you would not believe that it's Auntie's favourite Elkie Brooks at the front of Vinegar Joe. So there you go, Elkie Brooks, that came out in 1977, 2 Days Away. Next up, one that maybe not a lot of you will have heard of. My sort of music people who listen to the same sort of stuff as me will, drummers will as well. This is a drumming solo album. I can hear you going, a drumming solo album? But yeah, this is one of the greatest sort of jazz funky drummers in the world. Billy Cobham, Magic. Not quite as good as Spectral without Tommy Bowling on, but it's a brilliant album, as most of Billy Cobham's albums are. And this is really good stuff to listen to. I still listen to this all the time. Right, next up is a special one now. This next album, I'm quite happy to say, the singer on this is actually connected on my Facebook page, so hopefully you'll see this and say hello to everybody. Crawler came after Backstreet Crawler. Backstreet Crawler, of course, was the band that Paul Kossoff formed after he left Free, and then sadly when Paul Kossoff died, Crawler carried on, or Backstreet Crawler carried on, but dropped the Backstreet bit and just became Crawler. Brilliant album this is. It's really, really good. If it had one of those big names on it, it would have been a massive album. It's really, really good. Jeff Whitehorn came in and did a wonderful job. Not trying to replace Kossoff, but just being similar but different. I mean, he's really good. As everybody knows, I think Terry Wilson is a brilliant vocalist and should really be a superstar on the same sort of lines as Coverdale, Plant and all them, but for some reason didn't quite work out. It's got Rabbit on it as well, so there's a good free connection. Brilliant. This is Stone Cold Sober is the track that probably most of you may have heard of. It might have been a bit of a minor hit at the time, but it's a really good album, and I think it's just been repackaged with the album from the year before in a sort of deluxe set. Get it, listen to it. If you're into all that sort of late 70s, 80s rock stuff that's got melody and got keyboards and got guitars and got singing where you can understand what they're saying, this is an album that you need to get hold of. Crawler, brilliant stuff. Next, on to one of the people I just spoke about. This is one of the first albums I ever really got massively into and couldn't stop playing. It's an album, he's never made another album like this bloke. He's doing his farewell tour at the minute, not necessarily going down all that well apparently, because the voice has gone a little bit, but this, his first solo album after leaving Deep Purple. He's never done anything like it since. David Coverdale, Whitesnake, of course the name became the band, but this was the name of the album. It was actually called Whitesnake, not Whitesnake. Brilliant, really good this. It's got some rocky tracks on it in the Free, Bad Company, but it's also got some really funky stuff on there, and it's got some nice ballads. Well, Goldie's Place is such a funky thing, it's impossible to sort of explain. There's some really good slow piano-led ballads on there as well. Mickey Moody's on there, of course. There's some great session musicians on this as well. It's a really, really good album, and he's never come up with anything that sounds the same. He might have come up with a couple that are a little bit better, but this has just got a feel to it which is fantastic, and it still gets played, I would say, weekly, and has done since I got it, which would have been in about 1980, I would guess. So 1977, David Coverdale, Whitesnake. Don't think about that Whitesnake that's going around now and think it's anything like that. It's not. Yeah, listen to it, it's great stuff. Okay, next to the ladies, with one of my favourites who's still going now and still doing just as well now, Kiki D. This is a great album. This Kiki D album, I think it's probably a second or third album. It might be a bit after that actually, because there were one or two earlier than this, I think. So anyway, but this is really good. Good stuff. Kiki D from 1977. I can't see the writing on the back because it's too small and my eyes don't work. I'm trying to see if there's a track on there that you might all remember, which was the hit single might have been. This, of course, would have been the same, just a little bit. Well, it would have been a year after, wouldn't it? She did the Elton John thing. Fortunately, that's not on this. Probably Sweet Creation might be the one that most people have heard of on this. Anyway, there you go. It's a great album. Been worth tracking down these sort of albums because they sold so many copies. You can pick up a copy of this on Discogs for a couple of quid. Well worth it. Next up, another one of the obscure ones that most people might not have heard of, especially if you're listening or watching in the UK. This is one of my American people, Jonathan Edwards, Sailboat. This is like American bluegrass country folk type stuff. It's really nice, singing with a guitar and all that sort of stuff. This is probably his fourth or fifth album. It's got a couple of really good things. It's got a great version of People Get Ready. The first track, Blow on Chilly Wind, is brilliant. It's nice, it's laid back, it's country, it's folk, it's bluegrass, it's whatever. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think it's great and I'll play it a lot. Next up, we're back to the Purple connections, and the Purple singers were busy doing their thing in 1977. Ian Gillan was just coming to the end of his sort of jazz experiment with the third and final of the jazz album. This is Scarabus. I want to tell you, you might not recognise the cover because this is the American version. It's got a totally different cover to the one in the UK. The one in the UK has a picture of the band with the sunset behind them. This one seems far more Scarabus-esque, if that's a word. Nice little thing on the back there with the band. Really good band. John Gustafson and Ray Fennick and Colin Towns, of course, who was going to be in the later Gillan band as well, and Mark Norseef on the drums. Sadly, Ray Fennick died a couple of weeks ago. Really good and underrated guitarist, Ray Fennick. And this is a great album. It's just about getting towards the rockier Gillan stuff, but it's still got the undercurrent of the sort of jazz runs and the stuff from Clear Air Turbulence and the Charlie and Tom album. So it's a bit of a morphing album, if you like. It's morphing from the jazzy stuff back to the rock, but it's really good. It's probably the most accessible of the three of the albums, which were called the Ian Gillan band rather than Gillan. Well worth tracking down and worth a listen. Purple connections are to the fore at the moment, because don't forget Purple only split up the year before, 1976, and so a lot of them were into their new projects and bringing out new albums and all sorts of stuff. This album took me ages to get hold of. I wanted to get a copy of this in about 1980 because it went out of print and nobody got it, and then all of a sudden it turned up. Glenn Hughes, Play Me Out. Now, Glenn Hughes divides a lot of Deep Purple people in the same way that Joe Lynn Turner does. Not because he isn't talented or anything like that, it's because some of those live shows he was in totally ruined them with his constant yelping and squealing. When he sings and when he plays, it's brilliant. This album is just, he just literally lets go and does his own thing, and it works. It's really good. He's made dozens and dozens of albums since. He's been in more projects than I've had up dinners. This is still the best thing he's ever put out with his name on. His own name is what I mean, not being in a band. This is a wonderful album. It's strange, it's funky, but you've got to get it. Really, you must listen to this at some point. It's a really good album. Right, looking at the time now, I'm going to be getting fed up a minute. We haven't got many more to go. One of my all-time favourite singers next, Frankie Miller. Why isn't Frankie Miller one of the most famous people in the world? That man can sing like nobody. Absolutely brilliant. This is a great album. Some of his albums were billed as Frankie Miller. Some of them were billed as the Frankie Miller Band. This has got a brilliant version of Jealous Guy on it. And John Lennon said that this was better than his version. He honestly did say that. Check it. It's easily the best version of Jealous Guy ever by anybody. It's also got love letters on it. It's got quite a few tracks that are pretty pop along and good. Of course, the next year, he did get his sort of breakthrough fame, if you like, with that hit single, Darling, which is nothing like anything else he does. It's one of those terrible things where somebody, for a lot of the world, is remembered for something that is probably one of their weakest outputs. This is great. Obviously, Andy Fraser from Free was involved with writing some of the songs, and brilliant. Frankie Miller at his best. Full House, brilliant. Back to the Pups. And John Lord and Ian Pace teamed up with their old mate Tony Ashton to come up with this unique band. Pace, Ashton, Lord, Malice in Wonderland. This again is brilliant. You've got two keyboard players. You've also got two vocalists. Bernie Marsden's on here playing the guitar, who was later going to be in Whitesnake. He's doing a bit of singing. So you've got two keyboard players. You've got a great guitar player in Bernie Marsden, of course. We've also got Paul Martinez on the bass. Brilliant stuff. Really, really good. And again, difficulty stuff. There's not really a band you could compare these to. How many bands do you know? They've got two keyboard players and work. It's really good. And again, this has been put out in loads of different forms over the last few years. So it's easy to track down. and it's well worth it. Good stuff. Next up, the second of my "This Man Should Be a Superstar" people, Jess Roden. This was his last sort of solo for a long time. The Play Not the Game. It's a little bit lightweight compared to some of the earlier stuff, but it's still really, really nice. And it's good stuff. I wouldn't say this is the place to start if you really want to appreciate Jess Roden, because it's probably a little bit too laid back. It can probably do with a little bit of oomph here and there, but it's still brilliant. And if you've never heard Jess Roden, find him, because you'll be astounded. Really, really good. Again, sounded like I was knocking it along, but I'm not, because I'm measuring it against his other albums, and it's easily the weakest of his solo albums, but it's still good enough to get a mention in here. Right, only a couple to go. As you can tell, alphabetically, we're now to a Y. So what are we going to get next? Well, what if you take a guitar player who didn't know yet that he was going to become, he was going to be one of the biggest rock bands of the 80s, and a bloke who was the sort of unmentioned member of Status Quo, and send him to make an album? What do you think you're going to get? And what you're going to get is a load of nothing that you'd expect to get, because this is like really sort of laid back, funky, bluesy stuff. It's great. I mean, the title track is called Young and Moody, and all that happens all the way through it is Bobby Young just keeps singing Young and Moody over and over again. Sounds like it ought to be useless, but it isn't. It's brilliant, because it just works. There's some really, really good bluesy sort of stuff on here, and some almost jazzy bluesy stuff, and it's got a, let's have a look at the insert. There's a nice little insert in as well, so you can sing along and everything. It's brilliant. That's been redone now as well, I think, on CD, with a few extra tracks and all that sort of stuff, but you can track that down, the original album. That is brilliant as well. So, what's the last album then, from the 1977 Jubilee Hall that we're listening to? Well, for a long time, it was the best-selling album ever. I don't think it is anymore. It was in the charts more longer than any other album as well. Everybody had one. If you didn't have a copy of this album, you didn't have a record player. What is it? 1977? Everybody remembers that 77 year of punk and all that? It wasn't. It was the year of this. Fleetwood Mac, Rumours, came out very early 1977. A lot of people associated with that summer of 76. And one of the earlier singles came out at the back end of 76. I'm not sure without checking. Obviously, in those days, people made a record every year, so the 75 album would have been playing during 76. So that made where people tend to forget that this actually came out on February the 4th, I think it was, 1977, and it was an album that everybody had to have a copy. I would guess most people listening to this have heard this album all the way through. This is my original copy, which I must have bought in 1980. It's still got a price ticket on the top, £3.99 it was. And there you go, a nice little booklet in the middle. See, you don't get this with CDs, do you? All these records, you can open that up, and there you go, you got all them pictures on that side, and then inside there you got all the lyrics and nice pictures you can sing along if you want, and drive the neighbours up the wall. And everybody has heard of every single track on this album. It's been put out about 20 million different times. I think there's probably a 75 CD box set version with all the outtakes and everything and whatever. Still doesn't get boring. Still play it at least once every few months, and you hear the songs everywhere you go, all the time. Brilliant stuff. So that was 1977. They're the albums that came out in 1977 that I'm still listening to today. There's loads more as well. I could have gone on for ages, but obviously you get bored of me eventually. If I've missed one that you think was brilliant in 1977, stick it in the comments and let me know what it is, and we'll see what I think about it as well. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be jumping on to 2002, so there'll be a major difference there. One of the major differences, of course, being that quite a lot of it will be on CD and not record. So until then, enjoy the rest of your Platinum Jubilee evening, and I'll catch you all next time.